Hey, welcome to the Hotflash Inc podcast. It's been a little bit since I've done a solo episode. People tell me they like these, the mad ramblings of a post-menopausal woman who's obsessed with the transition and everything to do with midlife. So here I go. Here I go again. Don't forget that you can text me. I can't reply, but you can also email me at amcqueen@hotflashinc.com or interact on any of the platforms, including Substack, where I have a weekly newsletter. You can also find the podcast there. So it's all right there at Substack, and all the cool kids are over there. So please do become a subscriber. And we're going to be having Hotflash Inc Summit. Details are coming soon. But if you become a paid subscriber to my Substack, you will automatically be upgraded to the all access pass for the Hotflash Inc Summit. And with that, you're going to get my new Hormone Therapy Navigator, the Hotflash Inc Hormone Therapy Navigator. I have challenged myself to make my first digital product. I'm speaking it into the world. I'm here to talk about what's happened in the last 8 months, and really with Hotflash, because I don't know whether any of you out there have started something and gotten yourself like fully immersed in something and then just not known where you were going. And I've been really open about, I just started Hotflash. I just started a newsletter and I didn't have any plans for monetizing. I didn't have any plans for how to grow it. I just knew I had to do it. It really was one of the times in my life where I was fully called to do something. I think there's only been a few others. Once when I was a child, I had an assignment in public school to make a shoebox full of pioneer furniture out of balsa wood. It's a soft wood that my uncle helped me with that, I believe. And I just went crazy and started making like a whole bunch of furniture. And I don't know, it was like something bigger than me. There are other examples of that in my life, but the biggest one would be when I moved to Abu Dhabi, because you have a person who didn't even know where Abu Dhabi was, who saw that there was a newspaper launching there, who Googled and realized where Abu Dhabi was and saw who was the editor of the newspaper and just was like doing it until 4 or 5 months later was getting off the plane in a hot climate with 5 suitcases and no condo back in Ottawa and having said goodbye to her family and friends and then going, what did I do? But I certainly regretted it because it was difficult. It's a difficult transition. But I look back now and I'm like, wow, you were really meant to be in another part of the world and challenge your thinking. And Hot Flash is a similar thing. I just got the idea. All my 40s, I think it's a time to rethink everything. And I had always wanted to be a journalist, and I had never really thought about being an editor, but I was an arts and life and then features editor. I was making very good money. I was very challenged. And then it's just started to be a little bit like golden handcuffs. And I couldn't, and I knew it, but I was ignoring it. And that's similar to what happened when I was living back in Ottawa, Canada, and felt a call to go somewhere. Really, I didn't know what it was, but I was having a call to move overseas. I just didn't know how to do that. So I bought a condo and decorated it, and then I still have it. And then I saw the job posting, and then I did it. Hot Flash was very much like that. And for a long time I said, I'm not a businesswoman. I'd written about a lot of entrepreneurs. I've been pulled towards the business world for a long time. I worked at Dow Jones. I was given early in my career the chance for my own radio show and a business on a business show. Like that's unheard of. And I turned it down and I don't know why, but it's just something that's been pulling me in a lot of ways. I was just swimming earlier and I thought about that. I thought about how I keep getting pulled back. And I am actually pretty comfortable with the idea now. And I've stopped saying, oh, I'm not a businesswoman. I'm not an entrepreneur, because I think a lot of this has to do with common sense and it's a huge growth experience. So I launched this when I was really in the throes of perimenopause at 49 and had no idea how tumultuous it would become until I finally went through menopause. And then even at 53, and then even now at 55, it's just calming down. But I just put my head down, did the newsletter, and then Heidi Rock is awesome from the company that's not around anymore, Become Cooling Clothing, offered to sponsor a podcast if I started a podcast. So I did. And then it became a lot. And I've always worked. That's the thing, is I've always had full-time work, whether I was freelancing full-time or now I'm working on a project in Abu Dhabi doing content for a museum that's opening. It's just something that I haven't quite felt like I could do this full time. After my father died in 2024, which I've talked about a lot, my last conversation with my father, I told him that I had gone viral on TikTok and had done a video. The video was about anticholinergic medications and the links to dementia that were really rising to the mainstream. People were starting to figure it out. And I got 2 million people. It was wild going viral. I think I've talked about it on here before. And one of the last things he said to me was, "What are you going to do to capitalize on that?" And he was a businessman. And I started saying this, that, and the other thing. And I know I've talked about this before. You know that feeling when you start talking and you're like, I know I've said this to these people before. Anyway, a year later, after I lost my dad, and you really do have to give yourself a year when you have a loss like that, it is a crater. And even if you had a tough relationship with your parents, as most of us have had a complicated relationship, and my dad and I did too, but it's devastating to lose them. There's nothing to hang on to, especially if you're serious, not especially, but there's a special challenge that comes with losing your second parent because you really are alone. You really are an adult. So a year after that, I'm like, I gotta get my shit together with this hot flash. We're coming up to five, we're coming up to 5 years of this. And that's 2025. I launched in 2020. And I can't do this forever because it has become really overwhelming. It has become really quite something for me. I work on it all the time. I am obsessed, but there's just a lot to do. And I feel like I'm not doing it right. And I feel like I'm not getting it out there. And through happenstance, I happened to find this woman in Calgary who runs a company who helps people like me figure out how to make money. And we had some conversations. And then I decided to invest some money, which I'd always been loath to do. I've made some money in Hot Flash, but nothing that you could support yourself on, I would say, or that I want to support myself on. And so after overcoming a lot of resistance, I was working on my money fears at the same time, something that I've really been working on. I decided to hire them and we enacted a plan. And one of the things I was going to do was write a book called Perimenopause Game Plan and self-publish it. And Andrea was going to help me do that. Andrea's the woman with the company. It's called Legacy Creative, and she's the founder. And I announced it on Substack, and I wrote the first installment, and I was gearing up to do it. I'm still working full time. And then we were going to do, which we are, the Hotflash Inc Summit. And after that, I'm going to teach a course called Perimenopause Game Plan. Around that time, I'm a little fuzzy on the time, but I was contacted by an acquisitions editor in New York who had followed Hotflash Inc and said, I'd like you to do a menopause journal. And so I met with her and she was really nice. And I said, this is a cool idea. I'm actually writing a book already. And then she said, oh, if you're writing that book, maybe you could pitch it to us. And so that's what I did. And what ended up happening was that I wanted to write a book about perimenopause and about the whole transition, not just what, doctors on social media say about estrogen, but about all of the different modalities and practitioners that are helping women through this and how different they are. And what came back from this woman was there isn't enough of a market for perimenopause books. It needs to be on menopause. And I was like, are you sure? Because I know the big ones. I know the biggies. Mary Claire Haver's next book is on perimenopause. I think it's due out next spring, 2026. Tamsin Fidel's next book she did How to Menopause, and that her next book is on perimenopause. They're calling the documentary follow-up to The M Factor a prequel because it's about perimenopause. I know we don't need another book like everything you need to know about menopause, but she's the expert. And so I was persuaded and I worked really hard on a pitch, which helped me organize my thoughts, but it's not the book I want to write. And lo and behold, like I worked so hard on it. So she pitched it to her board. She was very confident. I told two people, oh, I have this possible book deal. I was really excited. Meanwhile, it seems everyone is getting a book deal. And God, I wanted to tell people that I had a book deal. I just really I had fantasies about putting it on Facebook and just maybe all those people who didn't think I was legitimate. I don't know. It's a very respectable thing, getting a book deal. It's like whoa, yeah. So I didn't hear from her for a long time, and I actually reached out to her and said, any progress? I did it in August. Any progress on that book deal? And she was like, oh, yeah, I've been really busy. And the board said no. And it was basically that the space was saturated. And I thought this was really hilarious because it's like we've gone from there's not enough of a market for perimenopause. You got to do menopause to the space is saturated. And I could say a whole bunch of things about that, but I got to say I agree. And it's like I'm less and less overriding my own inner knowing about things. And my inner knowing was that was wrong. That actually what is needed is a perimenopause book. Another one, Dr. Maritza Snyder is coming out with a book in October, The Perimenopause Revolution, all about mitochondria, which is so exciting. I'm not, that's all just the way it was supposed to be. I was a little disappointed when I heard, but I am in the fullness of time and a little bit of time. I'm glad I'm not writing a how to menopause book because I don't think I could get very excited about that. So I decided to create a navigational tool. I'm going to be selling that, but it's going to be introduced at the summit. The summit will be free, but there'll be a way to upgrade to get all the videos and keep them and get the hormone therapy tool, the navigator that I'm going to create, and to get a booklet that were of like top takeaways from all of the interviews, which will be really valuable. And then I'm going to do the summit, and then I'm going to teach a course called Perimenopause Game Plan. And it's going to have all of everything I've realized in the last 5 years. I'm going to pull it all together. And I really want people at the cusp or before perimenopause to take this course and walk through with me. I'll do it live and I want to create a community and have another space where women can come together. I want us to stay in touch. I have an idea about pairing people with menopause mentors. I just took that on. I'm going to do something where you have an AI buddy. We have a lot of big ideas, whether it'll all come to fruition with my full-time job is another story. But it's weird because I decided when I did the perimenopause game plan, I decided I was going to do, I announced it to my Substack, 5,000 people, and then I just didn't write it. And I feel like I have to explain this because things change, but I'm also like a rain man about the truth and what people said. And I know in my life, when someone says something and then they don't do it, it's like, but you said you were going to do that. And I know there's someone out there that remembers, and I don't want to be not good and true to my word. So that's what's going on avec moi. And I think, what else do I want to say? There's so much that I want to say. But I want to say that I've been doing interviews all summer for the Hotflash Inc Summit. And I've spoken to people that I might not normally speak to. And I've sought out people from all across the spectrum. And I'm more convinced than ever that the mainstream narrative about menopause being something biological that can and should be fixed with hormone therapy immediately, including estrogen containing hormone therapy, and that this is the route to prevent aging and prevent disease is really narrow and is really confusing people. And women are going on hormone therapy and they don't understand how it works and they don't understand what they're taking. And I don't say that to say women are dummies. We're too busy. I just talked to a pharmacist and she said, no one understands the medication they're taking. That really scares me. That really scares me. And it's become like there's not a place where we can just talk about side effects because, man, there are a lot of side effects. And you might not even know their side effects. And you might go back to your doctor and they might up your hormone therapy dose. There's a whole area of sensitive women. Paula Rastrick is writing a book called Sensitive Women. She's a psychotherapist from the UK. She is in the summit. She's talking about her work. She's talking about how there needs to be trauma-informed hormone therapy prescription. But what there really needs to be is an acknowledgement that there are so many ways to go through this, and that the solution that's being presented, the hormone therapy solution that's being presented, which is as a one size fits all, you get the patch, you get the progesterone, and you're good to go, it's not bearing out in reality. And we all know of the women that are, yeah, it's changed my life. And I have friends that has done that. And that is why I will never argue against it. I support anyone's right and to go on hormone therapy, but it's a lot. And if you don't want to go on hormone therapy, and if you don't want to have a prescription and you're hesitant, and women are. Like they just are. I interviewed someone who's speaking for women of color and talked about how Black women are just suspicious of medicine because they've been treated so badly. And because of the history of Black women and men being used in scientific experiments, often without their knowledge or permission, just a horrific history there. And you're almost treated today like you're stupid if you don't understand that this is the door. This is the door you need to go through. I've danced around this a lot, and I now know that it is definitely my mission to focus on the power of this transition and to focus on the breadth of the experience of the women who are going through it and to help women understand that they need to empower themselves. They need to do their own research. I'm going to help by making it as easy as possible. My hormone therapy tool is going to tell you, this navigator is going to tell you everything that's out there. It's going to give you a snapshot. So you're like, wow, not everyone agrees that estrogen is the best thing in the world. Huh. Wow. Some people want you to have your period for the rest of your life. This woman over here says you shouldn't even eat a chickpea. These people say you shouldn't take estrogen until after you go through menopause. These people aren't sure about testosterone. All of it. And then, if people so desire, attend the summit, go to the Hotflash Inc, attend the perimenopause game plan, figure it out for yourself. Just take the time. I didn't take any of this time for myself. I've been figuring it all out in real time. What I have done is that I figured out the world of cryptocurrency to an extent and Bitcoin. I was curious about that. And from 2018, I was curious about it. And it's the really only time I've sat down and said, I'm going to figure this out. And I took 2 courses and I went through and I made notes because this is my money, right? I don't want to mess up my investments. I've already made enough dumb mistakes in that area. And taking control of my money energy has been a pivotal part of me going through menopause too. So I definitely plan to talk about that and bring on some experts. But going through it methodically did something for me. Like just the act of learning and letting myself feel like I was giving myself the time to understand this. And then when I make decisions, it's, yeah, I really took the time to figure that out. And it was hard at first, and then it was funner. I like saying funner. I think funner is a word. It's a word in my world. That's what I want people to do. At the hardest time in your life, when you're being squeezed on all sides, I'm asking you to ask questions, to listen to the part of you that says, no, I don't know about that. To stop being like, I guess I'll just do that because that person says that's what I should do. To try and understand it more from the inside out. Will I ever write a book about perimenopause? I don't know. I don't know. I think the whole experience and this sort of, ooh, my ego and the thought that I was going to be telling people that I'm writing a book was a good experience because then I was able to look back and I was like, you weren't really excited about the book, the topic, but you were excited to tell people that you were writing a book. That's a dissonance there, right? Like, how much of that did I do in my life? And we're not doing that anymore. And no, I don't want to stay up till midnight for a week putting a book pitch together. When inside myself, I've studied this space for 5 years and I know that we don't really need any more books about the guide to menopause. It's basic at this point. There are loads of people doing those books. So I learned a lot from that experience. And I just wanted to tell you all about it because I know there are people being called to do all sorts of things. And it's not easy. I don't know anything more about doing anything than you do. I know about being a journalist and how to go about doing a story because I learned how to do that. And now I know about investing in cryptocurrency, a basic amount. But in terms of figuring out how to do this right and make this a business that sings and I make the right reels and I do the right thing on the podcast, I don't know. I'm still figuring all that out. Please do whatever is in your heart because I think that the process of doing it is just the most valuable thing. People always say that, but nothing has made me grow more than doing Hotflash Inc. And I had so much imposter syndrome in the beginning, like so much, just for not being a doctor. And then I finally realized that being a journalist was my strength because I wasn't wedded to any sort of particular dogma or ideology, and that I could actually provide more value. And then the next hurdle was actually selling things. It was really hard for me to charge for my Substack membership. That was like a huge thing. And then I just felt like I can't. I see all these people selling, like, God, they're selling PDFs. It's like they're selling things I could put together probably in my sleep. And I'm perseverating over doing it for the first time. And I was on a podcast with two really cool women, and they were both business women. And I asked them for advice about it. And they said, you're really doing a disservice if you're not offering something to the people who like what you do. And I thought that was pretty cool. I really am, because I'm not giving you a full bunch of information. I've I can give, I've got a pretty big bird's eye view, and I don't mean it in a superior way. I just mean I'm pretty objective. I'm not wedded to anything. There's a few things that I'm like, no. But there's a few people that I am not going to be sharing with you. But that was a really nice photo confidence that they gave me. And I just, going through menopause and getting older is amazing. And yes, sometimes I look at my modeled skin, and sometimes I look at my face and my Marian outlines, and I think, oh, but mostly it's just feeling pretty stable. And it just keeps, I keep learning and spotting new things about myself. And I really feel that it's a bit like when you have a toddler around and you just keep seeing new things that they're doing every day. That's what it feels like now that I'm moving through and out of menopause. I'll do another episode talking about that, but I just wanted to, hey, this is an update. This is where we're at. This is where we are at. We've also got 3 cookbooks coming out. There are so many books coming out, but I wanted to say that the cool thing is engaging with people here who then go on to do great things. Jen Sullivan Huber, who has been on the podcast, go back and search out her episode. She gave a great tip about increasing your energy demand to ward off the insulin resistance that can dog us at this time. She has written a book called The Menopause Feast. I could highly recommend that book. Mariella Frostrop, who is a journalist in the UK, broadcast journalist, she's got a book coming out called Menolicious. And Karen Newby, who's been on the podcast as well, definitely go back and listen to her. She's come out with a like beautiful cookbook. I've read it. It's gorgeous. I'm going to make some of the recipes. And she's such a calm, cool person to talk to. But she had the Natural Menopause Method book a couple of years ago. She's a nutritionist. And now she's got the Natural Menopause Method cookbook. So 3 new menopause cookbooks. And I'm probably missing some. This is not an exhaustive list. But let's get cooking. Another thing I've noticed since I've gone through menopause, my zest for cooking was lost, and it is returning. I have made some lovely things. So that's a really nice thing that's adding a lot to my life. So if you've lost the zest to cook, and I never had a family, so I don't know how you've been doing it. I really don't. If you've been cooking all this time, I say this to my bestie all the time. I don't know how you've done it, and you keep doing it. But if you've lost your verve for cooking, just let it ride. It'll come back. Just hang in there. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to text me. Don't forget to like and share this podcast and leave a comment for me or reach out to me on, I don't want to sound needy, but I love to hear from you. I really do. Thank you for being here.